This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the Riptide. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings.
Yes.
So what do we got for him today, Jamil?
We're jumping right in. You're just
Jumping right in.
ripping, little foreplay. Oh, how you feeling?
Oh yeah, true. That's true. People tell me I tend to jump in too soon.
Jump right on.
Yes.
Jump right on to the topic and
a little too eager.
Yeah,
a little too eager.
Yeah. No, not enough foreplay, as it were.
Foreplay. Well, I mean, you want the show to last, right?
True. Right. Yeah.
You want to fill an hour, don't you?
Try to save the good stuff for the end and the middle and
You
beginning.
know who really appreciates foreplay?
Who's that?
Our good friend John Blickman.
Ah.
I think he's.
I would not have guessed that.
I'm assuming. I don't really know, but he seems like a caring and gentle lover.
Seems like a patient man.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, used to disappointment. And, yeah.
Right. He puts up with us, which is a good sign of his kind, gentle spirit, working with the special needs folks like us. I think we are especially needy.
Yes,
and especially challenging.
Yeah,
we present a challenge.
We need brewing equipment that's geared for special people like ourselves.
Good segue, man.
Thank
there
you.
you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of special needs and brewing equipment, our good friend here, Porno Steve, has received a Brew Easy from Blickman and has amassed a giant pile of fire brick on the roof of his house where he lights off a giant flame. What do your neighbors think when they see you on top of the roof?
So it's
this flame.
It's the highest house already on a hill. So I put it in a place. It's a really big roof because it's a five bedroom like wide kind of deal. So it's a very wide roof. So you can't see if you're on the street looking up on the house. You have to be like far, like across, like.
And they see this guy on the roof, and they can't really tell what's going on, but they see flames.
Yeah.
And some,
I hide it
some
pretty
very
well.
questionable-looking dude running around on the roof with flames. And then too short a piece of tubing to reach the fermenter.
Yeah.
It sounds like a beautiful setup.
It's really cool. It actually is pretty cool.
I think the Brew Easy is the great part. And then it just goes to show that it's no matter how good the equipment, sometimes
you got to be creative.
That's right. You've always
have to figure out something.
Be prepared for that.
Just because you buy a Porsche doesn't mean that you know how to drive on the Autobahn.
There you go.
Very true.
There you go.
That's a good point. Good analogy.
There you go. But if you want the Porsche of brewing equipment, you want the Blickman Engineering.
Brew Easy.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Compact, fast, easy, powerful.
Oh yeah,
it is really easy to clean.
There you go.
That is pretty cool.
I can't tell you how important that is in.
Oh yeah.
You know, because do you want to spend your time cleaning, or do you want to spend your time, enjoying beer and brewing and all the cool stuff? The Brew Easy and a lot of the Blickman Engineering stuff will make your brew day much easier, much more productive, a lot more fun, a lot more cool. And you can see all those things on BlickmanEngineering.com. Go check them out today. And while you're at it, send our good friend John Blickman an email, feedback@BlickmanEngineering.com, and tell him how much you appreciate that he pays for the show so you don't have to. All right, let's see. John, to answer your question, we are going to talk about you had brought up the subject of water handling or water processing in the commercial brewery.
Right.
And when we were talking about it, I also mentioned how I did that also as a home brewer.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
Because our water was pretty bad where I was at, and it got really bad certain times of the year, especially in the summer, where it was almost unusable. And so I was collecting up RO water then for brewing, and I think it's a topic that applies both to the home brewer and the commercial brewer.
Yeah. Well, how it came about was I often get emails about brewing water from various small breweries and home brewers. And the question typically goes where they've owned a brewing system of whatever size for 6 months up to 2 years, and now they're thinking that they may need an RO system to smooth out the minerals in the brewing water. They'll send me their water report. Sometimes their water is really fine and they don't need the RO system. Other times, like recently, brewer sent me his water report, and his alkalinity was off the charts practically, around 400 ppm as calcium carbonate, which is really high. So the only good way to address that and high levels of sodium and chloride is to put in an RO system, because while you can, if the problem is only total alkalinity, you could treat that with acid, just inline dosing, or having a cold liquor tank or a hot liquor tank that you would treat a large batch of water with acid, get the alkalinity out. But in the case of high sodium and chloride, the only good way to remove those is with reverse osmosis. You need that very, very fine membrane that can screen out these very small ions. Sodium and chloride are tiny compared to, say, calcium and carbonates and other larger ions. So, you need an RO system for that. Of course, RO water is very corrosive because it's mineral free, and it wants to absorb iron and chrome, and very corrosive to stainless steel. So you need plastic or HDPE type plastics to contain it. So as I often happens, you get into this discussion with the brewer. They typically only have like a 3-vessel brewing system consisting of the hot liquor tank, the mash lauter tun, and the boil kettle. And so they often need to buy a cold liquor tank to hold the RO water until they're ready to use it, because otherwise you spend a lot of money putting in a very large RO system that could deliver the volume on demand. So that's often a consideration. I've also run into a number of breweries that don't even have hot liquor tanks. What they have is like a hot water on demand system.
Right.
And so how do you treat that for adding salts or acidifying water? So that's another layer of complexity to the issue.
Because you can't really run hot water through an RO system.
Right.
And you can't you don't necessarily want to run RO through the hot water, instant hot water heater either. I mean,
right,
like
that would be very aggressive. Yeah,
with the heat, and RO water could really damage that. So you need to store it up and mix it. So when you aren't using RO water, or if you're using treated water, if you use RO water and you add your minerals to it to make a base water, you can store it in a stainless tank as well.
Right.
And one of the easiest things to do, I think, for a commercial brewer is to use a fermenter. So often you have fermenters that are already glycol cooled, and you can just take one of your fermenters and dedicate it as a cold liquor tank. If you should need more cold liquor, you can add additional fermenters, and then you can go along those lines. And that's one of the things that we're doing right now is we use just a fermenter as a cold liquor tank. So
good thought. Okay,
that's one way to treat it. The HDPE tanks. Certainly, those are inexpensive. The problem with them is having the water in it chilled. Because
you don't have a way to.
I mean, they're not jacketed.
You're right. Okay.
So you generally have to either loop them through a heat exchanger, or put a coil in it or something in order to keep that water cold, and then insulated as well.
Okay.
So that's something that can be done, but can be challenging in other ways. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll get into details about water handling in a brewery right after this.
The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
Do you like beer? They make beer.
Watch out!
Do you like friends and fun? They make friends and fun.
Watch out!
Do you still like to have a good time? The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
The 21st Amendment in San Francisco, located at 563 2nd Street, 2 blocks from the building where baseball is seen and played. Try their beers in the pub or try them in the can, featuring
Monk's Blood.
Made with real monk.
Watch out!
So why not have the best time of your life? Go to the 21A and Sean O'Sullivan will personally greet you with a can of
Monk's Blood. The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
This advertisement is not in any way affiliated nor associated with the 21st Amendment Bar and Pub, nor its subsidiaries or affiliates. This telecast is not copywritten by the 21st Amendment for the private use of the Brewing Network. Any use of this telecast without Jamil Zainashev's consent is prohibited. Suck it, JP.
Your support of the Brewing Network means everything to us. We couldn't produce shows without you. And we love giving you something extra for that support, like Brew Your Own magazine. You already know it's a great brewing magazine full of recipes, equipment how-tos, discussions of beer styles, and brewing techniques. Whether you're new to brewing and just starting out or you're an old pro, you'll always learn something from the articles in Brew Your Own. Plus, they're amazing special issues like plans for building a Brutus 10 system, 250 classic clone recipes, and the Homebrewer's Answer Book. Brew Your Own magazine and BYO.com are awesome resources for any brewer, whether for yourself or as a gift. When you subscribe or resubscribe from the Brewing Network homepage, you directly support programs like this. Get a great magazine and support the Brewing Network. Subscribe to Brew Your Own right from thebrewingnetwork.com.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs. Pure yeast and fermentation since 1995. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Check out their brand new patent-pending mash and boil 110-volt electric mashing and boiling unit. This compact all-stainless unit lets you mash, sparge, and boil just about anywhere that has a 110-volt plug. Double-wall construction adds to efficiency and safety, and a precise thermostat keeps temperatures where you want them. Unlike insulated buckets and converted coolers, multiple temperature rest mashing is easy to do, all for under $300. They also feature the Mark II work pump, a magnetic drive high-temperature pump that does the work of pumps that cost twice as much, as well as exclusive Brewer's Edge regulators and quality Keg King kegs and disconnects. Check them out today at williamsbrewing.com to bruise their vast selection.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew strong.
All right, we're back. During the break, we were talking about adding more fermenters to brew more beer and secondary fermentations and things like that. All right, I'll tell you, if you want to ferment some great beer, I would highly recommend checking out whitelabs.com. All the great strains that they got.
Right.
You know, their pure liquid yeast packs, their pure pitch packaging technology, and the way that they make it means that you are going to get the highest concentration of yeast in the industry. And it's all due to this flexi cell thing that they came up with. I remember when he was first working on it.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
That is a one sterile clean room facility there where he manufactures those.
Right. So you know that it's clean and it's healthy. It's healthy. The yeast in those packs, it's propagated in all grain wort and provides the perfect nutrients, and so it's ready to go in your beer instead of something grown on molasses, which unfortunately a lot of products still are. And with White Labs pure liquid yeast, your finished beers will meet the high quality flavor profiles that you intend to produce. Discover the White Labs difference. Visit whitelabs.com/yeastbank to find the perfect strain for your next beer. All right, we were talking about.
We're talking about water, CLTs, HLTs. You know, basically, when you put in an RO system, I mean, you're putting in the first piece of an overall water handling system.
Water handling, sure.
And you at Heretic, you've got an RO system. You said
right. So we're using ours mainly for providing distilled water. So. Or deionized water. We first run a water softener.
Right. And why do we do that? Listeners?
It's removing a lot of the minerals. It's taking it down to really just sodium or potassium, depending on what kind of salts you're using. And And then we run that through a RO system.
Right.
And then the RO system goes through a DI bed. We use a mixed resin bed. We were using separate beds, cation, anion.
Right.
And the problem with that is it stank to high heaven like dead fish.
Oh, wow.
And I was told by the manufacturer, like, yeah, that's the way it is. The mixed resin beds don't. I'm like, that's strange. But the advantage of doing separate beds is you get a much longer life out of the beds.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
If you go through a softener first and then you go through RO, what's hitting the DI bed is very low in minerals, and you
clean
your DI resins, which are expensive, last a lot longer. And so then that's contained in a tank. They use metal tanks, but they're epoxy lined.
Okay.
So that's another option, because they need to be pressurized for running them out on a faucet, and so that's why they're pressurized.
Okay. Supposed to have HDPE. Yeah.
Right. And you could, but you need a gravity feed out of it.
Right. Okay.
And if you're storing a considerable, or pump it, yeah. If you're storing a considerable amount of water, it generally is on the floor. So that's pretty much what we're doing. If you are looking for RO for your commercial brewery, you need to kind of figure out how much water you need per batch, how many batches you want to do, in a given amount of time, and then you can kind of calculate back, what kind of size RO system you're going to need. You can kind of get ahead of the game. You can use a smaller system, a large storage tank, like John was saying, with a HDPE, food grade water tank.
Yeah.
And you can get those. You can get a pretty good size. You can get, I think, 30 barrel for about $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cheap. The stand will cost you a little bit more,
earthquake straps,
right? All that stuff. But you can get a larger buffer tank, and then you can just start running water into it. If it takes a week to fill, but and you're not brewing over the weekend, it can fill back up over the weekend, and you use it down during the week, and then it fills up over the weekend and fills overnight and things like that. There's 24 hours in a day the RO system will run, and it can even run while you're drawing water off. But that's one of the factors to consider. Also consider that the RO flow rate will often drop over time, so you need to
as the membranes clog.
Yeah, you can't count on full efficiency of the RO system at all times.
Okay.
It also fluctuates depending on city water pressure. If you have low city water pressure, you're going to need a booster pump.
Okay.
The higher the pressure, I believe, the more efficient an RO system is.
Right.
So the rejection amount, the amount that's going down the drain, versus the amount of clear water you're getting out, the higher the pressure is,
the better that yield
that
is.
ratio
is.
Right. Because it can squeeze more of the pure water across the membrane. As long as you're not surpassing the pressure that the membrane's rated to, you're good on that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, so the water softener ahead of the RO system it takes out a lot of the heavy ions that would reduce the life of the membrane or clog the membrane, if you will.
Right.
And so that helps improve the life of the membrane, and I guess probably reduce the working pressure of the membranes.
Right.
That they experience, yeah.
Another thing about RO systems is there are membranes that can handle chlorine and membranes that can't. And you got to decide if you want, like a carbon filter right before the RO system, or you want to run chlorinated through it.
Right.
The advantage of the chlorine is that it keeps contamination down.
Right.
But if it's only being used in the mash, the boil, things like that, it doesn't really matter how sanitary it is generally. Yeah. There's not much left over to for the bacteria or whatever to attack and turn into acid or anything like that.
Right. Good point. So, I mean, for let's say a 10-barrel batch, standard batch size or brew plant size, would you want a CLT that's also 10 barrels, or do you want it 15 or 20?
Well, again, that depends on how many batches you want to run and whether you want chilled cold liquor. One of the things we do is we chill our cold liquor to a consistent temperature so that every time we run, we're using the same amount of cold liquor to cool to a given point.
Consistent cooling.
If you're just counting on ambient temperature, that's going to change from time to time. You can do that, but the amount of cold liquor you're going to use is going to change batch to batch, and that can be problematic because what you're trying to do is balance the amount of cold liquor you use to the amount of hot liquor you need for your next batch. If you and ideally the temperature. If you use a lot more cold liquor for one batch, you may overflow your hot liquor reservoir. If you don't produce enough, then you have to add cold water to your hot liquor tank and then heat that up, and it can delay things. Right. When I was at Fuller's doing a batch with them, they actually have a system on their Paraflow, which it's trying to balance out the amount of cold liquor needed to chill the batch and versus the amount and the temperature of the wort that they want in the fermenter, the amount of wort, and then the amount of hot liquor they want ready to go for their next batch, and the temperature. So ideally, you run your cold liquor through at a rate, and it's at a temperature that chills your wort down to the temperature you want, and you end up with ideally the right amount of hot liquor at the right temperature to go on your next batch.
Nice.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the hot liquors are just a little bit shy of where you want, but you've got heating on that, and you're pretty much ready to go anyways. So we keep our hot liquor at like 170, 180.
Okay.
And then the cold liquor going through the heat exchanger, it tends to come in, around that or a little less, and then it blends in, but it's still adequate for the next mash.
Yeah.
So we're able to do another mash about every 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
So we need about 40 barrels of water per batch every 2 hours.
And you have a 30-barrel system?
It's 37-ish, 35-ish.
Oh, okay.
It's custom built from AAA in Oregon.
Okay.
And so we made it to our size specifications. So our hot liquor tank is about 90 barrels. And that's just enough to do another batch every, couple hours.
Oh, so like 40 and 40.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And, while you're boiling everything else, you're heating up your next batch of hot liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've got this whole cycle going. Our cold liquor tank, we're using a 120 barrel fermenter. So it holds about 147 barrels of water. And then that's glycol chilled.
Right. Okay.
And we just continually top that up.
Okay. So you've got essentially 4 times your batch size in your cold liquor tank.
Because it takes longer to cool it down than to heat it up.
Good point. Hadn't thought of that.
And a lot of homebrewers are thinking, well, how does this apply to me? So when I wanted to brew a bunch on a weekend, I would do back-to-back batches. All the equipment's hot. You can start your next mash while there's wort boiling.
Right.
And what you do is, save that when you chill your beer. You use water that you can, be used in your next dough in, and you save that water into a container, and then you use that for your next dough in, and your water is, already hot.
Yeah.
And you save yourself a ton of time off of that.
Yeah. Oh, it can take a good hour to heat up 5 gallons or 10 gallons of water, depending on your burner size.
Yeah, I was homebrewing, I could do another batch in just a couple of hours, all grain batch.
Yeah.
It just added a couple hours instead of, a 6-hour day. it's an 8-hour day, but now I've got 2 batches. So each batch only cost me 4 hours instead of one batch cost me 6 hours. And if you got the strength and the willpower, you can. I did some triple batch days or quadruple batch days, but it's a couple hours each time. But at the end of a 12-hour brew day or a 13-hour brew day, I had 4 batches of beer. Saving that cold liquor or the hot liquor that comes out can speed up your day.
Oh yeah, definitely. The most I've ever done is 2 double batch days.
Right.
Yeah, not 3 or 4. Wow.
So that can be a significant time saver, and in a commercial brewery, it saves a lot of energy.
Oh yes.
So you're retaining that heat that you spent money on to get things hot. You're capturing it again in the liquid that's going to be used for a follow-on batch.
Interesting. Okay. So, so we talked about size. Now, your heat exchanger, of course, is the pivot point for this system. I mean, where you're running everything. The cold liquor supplies the cold side to the heat exchanger, and then becomes hot liquor. Any sizing considerations on the heat exchanger? Does it change? Does that necessarily change with the use of a cold liquor tank versus, say, supply water?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's first talk about Grog Tag.
Very good.
Grog Tag's your one-stop homebrew customization shop. They have it all from reusable beer and wine labels to durable metal signs to high-quality coasters, and everything is customizable. Imagine having your own coasters at your little bar in your garage. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Joe's Garage.
There you go. So get creative over on grogtag.com with one of our hundreds of templates, and we'll print it on high-quality materials and ship it out to you. It's easy. Check out grogtag.com today and use the code BNARMY to save 10% on your next order. That's at grogtag.com. Use the offer code BNARMY. Yeah, cool stuff. And, you go to all this trouble of making your beer. Why put it in, some janky package?
Right.
A nice label. And
nice.
They make some awesome ones, and they've got those templates to make it easy. All right. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I will talk about the heat exchanger and how that's sized and how that all plays into all of this. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at blickmanengineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamel Zanishev, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn the cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com. Brewing great beer is a process of continuous learning, and the best books on every aspect of brewing can be found at Brewers Publications, with more than 50 awesome titles like Modern Homebrew Recipes by Gordon Strong, Designing Great Beers, the Ultimate Guide to Brewing Classic Beer Styles by Ray Daniels, American Sour Beers, Innovative Techniques for Mixed Fermentations by Michael Tonsmeyer, For the Love of Hops, The Practical Guide to Aroma, Bitterness, and the Culture of Hops by Stan Hieronymus, and Radical Brewing, Recipes, Tales, and World-Altering Meditations in a Glass by Randy Mosher, plus many, many more. These are the books and the authors with the knowledge to push your brewing farther than you thought possible. And you'll find them all at fine homebrew and book retailers everywhere. And visit the website at brewerspublications.com. Brewers Publications, all the best on beer and brewing. If you work in retail sales, the restaurant industry, or are a new craft beer enthusiast, or you know someone who is, you have got to check out Beer 101. Beer 101 is an online course created for anyone wanting a quick introduction to the vast world of craft beer. Beer 101 covers the history of beer, brewing ingredients and processes, vital stats like ABV, SRM, IBU, and gravity, styles, tasting, glassware, and pairing beer with food. The Beer 101 course is offered by the Brewers Association at craftbeer.com. Also home to the truly awesome Beer Style Finder, a visual guide to every beer style. Quickly play with color, bitterness, and alcohol content to interactively explore the entire world of beer styles with a gorgeously designed interface to your favorite beverage. The new Beer 101 course and new Beer Style Finder are only available at craftbeer.com. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. A little pee break, some beers,
beer,
and we're ready. We're ready to go. I want to tell you before we rock. It's coming up on time to renew your membership or get yourself an AHM membership. AHA does lots of great things to help homebrewing and produce a lot of materials and advocate for homebrewers. So it behooves you to support them as well. And you can use the offer code BN2018 at thebrewingnetwork.com to get yourself some free books while you're signing up. You sign up and you can choose between Wild Brews and Farmhouse Ales, and I think they even have Brewing Classic Styles as part of this offer. I'm not 100% sure, but check it out at thebrewingnetwork.com. Use that offer code BN2018 to get your free book while you sign up today. All right, where were we? We're talking about how the heat exchanger kind of wraps in. So obviously, you're like you're saying, the cold liquor goes through one side of the heat exchanger. We use plate heat exchangers, and then the hot wort's coming through the other side, and you get hot water out.
Yeah. So before you go on, how is a heat exchanger sized in terms of gallons per minute? That kind of thing, a flow rate?
Right. So there's a few websites that will tell you. I think Thermaline has a site. Thermaline is a very common heat exchanger in breweries these days.
Okay.
And they have a site that'll tell you how many plates you need, the size of the plates. So the size of the plates, are part of flow and back pressure.
Right.
The bigger the plates, the less back pressure you have at a given flow. So whatever rate you want to be able to traveling through there is determined by kind of the size of the plates.
Yeah. Now, of course, Porno Steve is an expert on back pressure.
Sure.
Oh, I wrote the book on it.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. But the number of plates also has an effect on that, and also is determinative of what kind of chilling you're going to get. You can keep adding plates to a point where it doesn't matter, and the two liquids have fully exchanged temperatures.
Right. Nothing additional is happening.
Right. Nothing additional is happening. And then you can trim it down to where, well, it's cheaper and it's flowing faster, but you're not quite capturing all the heat. So these things will help you size it. What we target is tends to be about a barrel a minute. So you're also sizing this based on how much wort you have and how long you want it to take to knock out. If it's taking forever to knock out and it's 2 hours to transfer your batch over,
right.
Obviously, things are happening in the whirlpool that you don't want to have happen. Using continuing isomerization and volatiles being driven off of maybe whirlpool hopping, something like that, and just tying up equipment. You need to be able to brew again. If you oversize the thing, then it's like, well, you've just spent money that you didn't really need to spend. And in a brewery, there's not excess money. So you want to size it. We size it around a barrel a minute, so it takes about 35 minutes to knock out a batch. We run it about a barrel a minute. We can run it probably 2 barrels a minute if we wanted, but that's excessively fast.
And you get a corresponding loss in differential?
No, I mean we would either increase the flow of the cooling water, or we could decrease the temperature of the cooling water. It's kind of a balancing act. There's the other thing that we're doing at that time is adding oxygen. And so if you're running really fast, it's harder to get the oxygen dissolved. So we're trying to time that out, measure our oxygen downstream. We're trying to flow at and the rate that we've come up with, that seems to work with us and a lot of breweries, is about a barrel a minute.
Okay, good.
So that's kind of how you need to look at sizing it.
Okay. So let's see. CLT, roughly twice the batch size. No, CLT is your CLT is roughly 4 times.
4 plus times. Yeah,
the batch size. Now, do you think what's the minimum? 2?
Yeah, it depends on, again, if
how many batches a day you want to.
Batches a day, and if you want to chill it. So one of the reasons that we hold so much cold liquor is because we want to chill it, and it takes overnight or more to get it down to the temperature that we want.
Okay.
So that's why we're continuously filling it and chilling it at the same time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And that kind of buffers the need, since it can take quite a while to get it down.
Yeah. Now, if you were doing one of those on-demand water heater systems like a lot of small breweries do,
right?
How big do you think you'd need the CLT? Would you need both CLT and HLT? That is, store water in the CLT from an RO system, and then heat it up and add it to the HLT, and then add minerals there. Would be a way that would work, you think? Or would you?
Right. I'm not sure how you'd use on-demand with a hot liquor tank. One of the reasons people do the on-demand is so they can get rid of a hot liquor tank.
Right.
It's one less vessel. The hot liquor tanks tend to be expensive because they need to be metal. They need to be stainless to handle the heat. They need to be heated in some way. They need to be insulated.
Right.
So hot liquor tank can run you quite a bit of money.
Okay.
And you'll also need some way of heating that, which is often a boiler or electric elements on a small one. And then you need the utilities and all that versus just a hot exchanger. So breweries that use on demand tend to just dump the cooling water down the drain.
Okay.
They don't collect it, so they're losing the energy there. So it tends to be something for a lot of smaller breweries. I think you could add a hot liquor tank, collect it, and then run that through the on demand as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that can take the place of a boiler.
That would help, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you still need some way to fire the kettle. So that's why it tends to be a certain way. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. The reason I ask is I've run into several breweries that have had one of those on-demand water heaters. Sometimes they have high minerals that they're dealing with, and they don't have a way to to treat that, to take the alkalinity out, or they heat their water. It all goes in the mash tun. They're adding all their mineral adjustments or acid adjustments to the mash tun, and depending on how when they've added the grain and so on. They don't know how to incorporate that on-demand heater system into their water adjustment. So I thought, well, we could put a poly tank ahead of the on-demand, and maybe do some water adjustments there.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you could use a ambient water tank. And if you don't want to, I mean, you could just use it as cold liquor. I mean, if you can get enough water out of the tap. So part of the problem, and the reason we need a cold liquor tank is that the city water won't flow fast enough
to chill.
Okay. Right. You're limited to, even with the 2-inch pipe we got coming in. We've got that ratcheted down to about 3/4 or 1 inch. That would probably do it, but it's not cold enough. It comes in sometimes like 68 degrees.
Okay.
That's where we want to get down to, so we need some chilling. We could go with a split heat exchanger where one part of the pack is cooled by glycol and one part is cooled by water. That's another common thing, so you can avoid a cold liquor tank.
Right.
For a lot of these smaller breweries, they can get away with just using tap water for cooling.
What temperature in the cooling water do you need?
For us, we're holding at 50 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so I think that's 10 Celsius.
10 C, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that allows us to knock out just about the right amount of water hot into the hot liquor tank for the next batch.
Okay.
So barrel a minute of wort's coming out, and about a barrel and a half of water's going through.
Okay.
In the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could, you could collect up your RO water, treat it with minerals, and then pump it through a on-demand heater.
Right.
Sure.
And some water. Yeah.
I think that would work well.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be the best bet for somebody that needs to treat their water, doesn't have a need for cold liquor storage, but they could also do a separate cold liquor tank, but then you need multiple tanks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's when they look into probably the costs of the stainless steel tanks versus and the need to chill them versus a poly tank.
Right.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're at. Again, the example of the brewery in Canada, maybe they have colder water there. Yeah. So that might be not an issue there.
Right. Yeah, as opposed to, say, the Philippines where it's 90.
Right, in the Philippines, you probably need a cold liquor tank or a glycol pack.
Yeah.
The problem with using all glycol is that then you have to upsize your system to handle that giant blast of heat at once. So glycol systems are designed to chill, slowly, lower the temperature down, and over time. And so it keeps this cold reservoir, and you gently take out, cooling capacity, and you put back some heat over time as your fermenters warm up, and you're battling, fermentation heat. And then if you put in a giant slug of boiling glycol back in, you'll overwhelm everything, and then your fermentation temperatures kind of get screwy as well.
Right.
So that's why people tend not to use all glycol. They tend to knock it down with water first.
Okay.
And then they'll take off the last 5 or 10 degrees with
pure glycol.
The glycol.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And those, if you have a pack, a heat exchanger pack that exists, you can actually split it into. You can buy the split plate that essentially in the pieces to turn it into a split pack with half glycol, or usually it's about 2/3 water and 1/3 glycol, or 3/4 water, 1/4 glycol plates.
So you can kind of add that on afterwards,
right? And you if you have that, you can actually move plates from one side to the other. You go, I need more glycol. You move it to the glycol side, or I need less glycol. You move it to the water side.
Oh, nice. Okay, I didn't realize that.
So, that's kind of, there's so many little things that go into kind of sizing this all and making it all work. And it depends on, like you're saying, environmental conditions.
Yeah.
The brew plant, how many turns a day they want to do.
Right.
Some of these brewers are like, no, I'm just doing one a day. I'm like, think you want to do a second one? Yeah. That's where a brewery becomes efficient, is when you're doing multiple turns.
Yeah.
The most efficient is when you don't shut the brew plant off.
It's running 24/7.
24/7. You have to shut down sometimes, but the more you can keep it running, the more efficient it is, and the less the beer is costing you at that point.
I see. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. That's a little different than our usual shows, but I think that
right. Well, and like I said, this applied when I was home brewing. Mm-hmm. In the summer and the water got bad, I would just take a food grade, like trash can liner, and just the little tiniest RO system that you can buy, cheap at Home Depot. I think at the time was like $60 or $70, or you get on sale for $59.
Yeah.
And then I'd let it run overnight, or for a couple of days, and collect it all up in there. And then I would use that, heat that water up, and treat it with minerals, and that would become my mash and my strike water. And then I would do my batch, and then
chill with it.
I would use that water for chilling. It would come out hot, and I'd collect it and adjust it and
get the next batch.
Use that for the next batch.
Nice.
And so it really speeds up your brew day as a home brewer. If you need to produce a lot of beer, competition season's coming up, or whatever it might be, you got a big party, you're the Hudachecks, and you need 40 beers on at your Oktoberfest, this is a way to knock it out much more quickly. If you don't have to keep setting up in boiling water, if it's coming out hot already, you save yourself a ton of time. All right. We need one more short break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up talking about water handling and RO and things like that at the brewery right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing, and like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking about water handling in the brewery, and I think I think you got to look at it as kind of a whole design, and I think
whole system.
Yeah, it's not given the attention that it needs when people are setting up breweries.
Right.
They don't even look at the water line coming into the building. I've seen breweries where they got I got a half-inch water line into the building, and it's not enough water. It's like, yeah, you should have thought of that before you signed the lease on that place. And what they end up having to do is put in a buffer tank.
Oh, yeah.
And hold a bunch of water and then pump it because the city water can't keep up. And you got to get ahead of the game and let it fill up when you're not brewing.
Yeah, because getting a new water line from the city is major expense.
And sometimes the city is unable to provide it. People put their breweries in the stupidest places where the cities, can't handle the water needs, can't handle the
discharge.
Discharge. That's really common.
I think going back to what you were saying about the most efficient way of running a brewery is running it 24/7. Mm-hmm. So if you do something like that, where you have a half-inch water line and you need to run a buffer tank, then you don't even have the option to run it 24/7.
Exactly. So it can be a real problem. You have to kind of think all these things through. If you're designing a brewery, if you're setting up a brewery, if you're looking at equipment, you got to say, well, here's the amount of beer I need to brew. So I was talking with a friend of mine about possibly setting up a brew pub somewhere, and the question is, we're talking about how much what size equipment to go in there, and they had a spec on the amount of equipment. I'm like, well, all right, so you've got a restaurant there with a number of seats, and you need to figure out how much beer you need to sell in that restaurant to make that a going concern. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of your minimum. And if the brew plant can't provide that, then you're kind of in trouble.
Right.
So you need to make sure it's sized to that, but it also needs to be sized to what if that does really well? What's your backup plan? How are you going to expand it? So what size, how many brews are you going to do? You don't want to make too big a brewery, because then you're doing a turn and you're waiting, and your beer's getting old. It needs to be small enough so the beer's fresh, so you have variety. It's but it needs to be big enough so you can keep producing the beers you need to produce.
Good point. Yeah. Brewing is not for the faint of heart.
Well, the brewing part is, it's the design and all the other,
the business of brewing.
The business of brewing sucks.
Yeah.
It's nice when you can call upon our good friend John Blickman to get a free Brew Easy system.
Mm-hmm. Generous,
and
God smile upon
like the
me.
Cat that ate the dildo,
and take a good 2 years to actually get around to using it. Yeah.
Hey, wrong.
Well, it's
I used it pretty soon after.
He probably had to put each fire brick in his underwear and climb up the ladder to get them all on the roof. Is that what happened?
No. Oddly enough, it did take a long time to actually find the fabric anywhere. Home Depot didn't have it. Lowe's didn't have it. Any hardware store in San Francisco or South San Francisco did not have it. I had to go to this.
Because fire's outlawed in San Francisco.
I guess probably at this point.
That's why you need to hide.
That's why I need to make a little
can't have fire.
Little fake wall.
Right. It's like Escape from Alcatraz. You need like plaster masks and fake walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Festival permit.
San Francisco's wonderful, but they do have some pretty bizarre regulations at times.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that pretty much wraps that up.
All right. Yeah, good show. If you're listening live, stay tuned. We're gonna do a third.
Woohoo!
We haven't been drinking that much, so
3 in a row.
I think it'll be a good one, and we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about. I think fermentation temps or all questions about kettles. I'm not really sure.
We'll make
it's not trip again.
Right. Whatever it is, thank your sponsors or our sponsors, or also your sponsors.
That's right.
For paying for the show so you don't have to, especially like Blickman Engineering. Check them out, BlickmanEngineering.com. A lot of great equipment. And John Blickman is paying for the show, so you can download it for free. I know sometimes the uploads of the shows are a little sketchy, but we've done every episode. We haven't canceled the show. As long as John Blickman's paying for it, we'll continue to do it. But he's only going to pay for it if you email him at feedback@BlickmanEngineering.com and tell him that you appreciate it. And then he'll keep cutting the check, and we'll keep doing the show.
That's right.
All right. Until then, everybody, brew strong.
Brew strong, everyone.